We're live.
Ready, go. Welcome, people, to another edition of, or the penultimate edition of Saturday Morning Sports Brief with Pistols, Robbie, Benny, and we're live streaming today apparently, so Ben's behind the phone getting it all set up. And we've got a very special guest, which I'll let Pistols introduce before we go to a tune.
Yes, thanks, Robbie, and good morning to the briefers, the Saturday morning sports briefers. And yeah, well, we are indebted to get this man involved. The Prince of Palomana has joined us because we love talking about the Trailblazers. Last week we had John Roberts, who went over and played for the Sydney, South Melbourne. And Neil.
Yes.
Neil Nugget Hein, original Bear, has joined us, Brisbane Bear. Nugget, welcome into 88.9 FM.
Thanks for having me, guys. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's lovely to have you because over the season, of course, we'll go to there, we always have a try and get a chat with you, but it's never long enough because it's always half time and time constrictions.
Or he's come from golf and he's half cut.
That's right, yeah. So much yelled out, there's only 6 red cans left to get in, so we don't get the chance to actually have an in-depth, so it's been great you come along this morning, Neil, and we'll have a bit of a depth into your life and also, being a bit of a trailblazer, my good man, with footy and a new territory up there in Brisbane.
Yeah.
So
that's right. It was a long time ago, but I can vaguely remember it.
Great man. And to set the time, because he was a bit of a superstar, Rob, of course, with the Nord Football Club, Premiership player.
Yes,
Brisbane
he was.
Bears. What else? Bordertown.
Was that under Neil Barn?
Yes, it certainly was. Yeah. So the whole time I played at Nord, I played under Barney.
Yeah.
So he sort of came there in the late 70s, early 80s,
Yeah,
and I rolled up there in 1980.
Yeah.
So he coached me the whole time I was there.
Yeah.
So,
All right, we might play a bit of the tune, the 80s scene, because that's when Nugget was strutting his stuff, and we'll set him in the mood. Probably used to
just to get him back in the
get
time
around
walk.
about this at Sam's or even Cavill Avenue Discos up there at Bearsville. So we'll be back shortly on the Saturday morning sports brief with Neil Hein. You're on 88.9 FM.
thanks, guys. Well done.
Done.
Very well done.
Thanks for
See you
coming.
next week.
Jeez, he wasn't worth talking to. He had nothing to say.
You'll get all these comments coming in.
We're still on the live stream, by the way. That's all right.
Hi, folks.
Well, I can pause it if you want.
No, it's all right.
Yeah, pause it. Yeah, because we talk about
Hang on.
Might be a good idea, I reckon.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'll keep it going.
because I was going to say,
Keep it going.
I suggested you get Humphrey Bear. They said, no, get Neil, he talks more.
Yeah, mate, how
I
much
should've got Humphrey.
could a koala bear? That's what I always say.
All right, if you've just tuned in, we're currently just playing a tune. We've got Neil Nugget Hein, Pistols, Rob here, and we've got the... just tell us a little bit about this, Nug, for the people who've just tuned in.
Yeah, well, to be honest,
Rob,
with you, you said the other day if you could bring some memorabilia in, and I had to go hunting. I found that in the back box of a container that with a bit of stuff in it. So maybe I should get out a bit more often.
Yeah, and he's asked us to sign it, Goldie.
Yeah, that's right.
Look at that.
I reckon the value will go up more if you play sign it than I do.
Sensation.
Behind it too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so no, I dug that one out. So yeah, bring back a few memories.
Were you, how did you feel running out with the happy, smiling coach? They could have gone like the Bears. I know the North Sydney Bears had like the American Grizzly Bears, something that looks a bit ferocious, and you got something from Cleveland on there.
Yeah, I know, 100%. I tend to agree with you. I think every other player in the Bears list would have agreed with you. We could have got something all. It's very hard to make a koala angry, isn't it? Or so yeah, they did their best, but yeah, I think we could have been perhaps the Sharks or. You know, the Grizzlies
Sharks,
or something or something or other, but yeah.
Sharks are already in.
Paul Crawford and Scasey wanted to keep it all very, very nice and Australian, so they went for the koala bear.
I think the triangle is also the symbol of Queensland.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so so it's just one of those things. It was. They certainly dressed us up in some interesting gear up there. The old...
at the parties? Or?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, behind the scenes. Yeah, what went on behind the scenes, we can't talk about that. But, no, I mean, some of the gear we travelled in, the white outfit with the cardigan and.
Oh, actually,
yeah,
I remember
yeah.
you said nights he come in and had the cardigan like
Yeah.
Miami Vice style.
Yeah, it was. It was very Miami Vice style back in the 80s, and we'd travel to Melbourne in a suit, but Queensland was
Yes.
the white outfit with the cardigan. So yeah, wasn't all that manly or masculine as they say. So yeah.
That's just,
Now, it'll come back into vogue though, mate.
Yeah, well, that's right.
No
I mean,
doubt. Whether
we
it's
were
now
trailblazers.
time or-
Yeah, that's right.
It's like everything.
We'll be back shortly. You're just on the live stream. Currently got a tune playing, and then we'll get into it with Nugget Hein.
it was pretty good on the dance floor with flash dancing, you know.
Oh yeah, did some of your best work on the dance floor. Well, actually, yeah, probably at the bar I did some of your best work.
A red legs, a sand specialist wear that when you.
That's right. It was pretty big back in the day, wasn't it, the old Sam?
Absolutely.
20 seconds, boys.
Yes, you're back here at the Saturday morning sports brief, 88.9 FM, Pistols, Robbie, and our special guest is Neil Nugget Hein from one of the original Brisbane Bears has been good enough to join us. Now, Neil, just take us back, said the Prince of Palomana, we like to keep our audience, our listeners and viewers in the know, so I actually went to the RAA trying to find some information on Palomana, like they had the tourist section. I thought they might be able to give us a few brochures or something.
Oh, that's very
Palomana. And what they did tell me is that it's a suburb of Tepco and Rocky Gully, I believe.
Yep.
But also it's renowned as a very big solar farm out there, I believe.
Well, there is now. I always say to people that I was probably the most famous person to come out of Palomana.
Well-
That's because there was only 20 people there and 6
Well,
dogs, so that was about it. But
The RAA, the tourist thing, as I said, they didn't have any brochures on it, but what they did have was
here
this,
we go.
this
Here we go.
publicity poster that they took. They did say this typifies the lovely scenery you'll see at Palomana,
this will be good.
and here we are.
Oh,
And we just get Thing to come in from the Adams family.
Yeah.
So,
look at that.
the viewers might want to see that. That was the official Palomana poster.
Yes.
Of Nugget, if you hadn't been a footballer, you would have been perhaps a strainer post. No, a male model. Eh?
Still got the hair.
What's going on there?
Still got the hair.
Well, when I was deciding, I'd finished the 1986 season had finished, and I was fielding a couple of offers from, there was a couple of offers from clubs here and there.
Look like you're filling office for Peter Shearer.
make sure you don't fall on that barbed wire fence.
And
I'll tell you what, that would do any damage. I think the jeans have already done it. They're pretty tight there, Nugget.
it was pretty fit.
Man
back in
called
the day.
horse.
Yeah, that's actually a hanky in my pocket there. That's, so the advertiser come out and said, "Look, we want you to lead on the fence post, and as if you're contemplating your future." Okay, so I was.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I was leading on the fence post and contemplating my future about whether I was going to go to the Bears or what I was going to do. So that was at the sports pages of the advertiser. So
Yeah.
I've copped a bit of heat over that photo over the years. Don't worry.
Well,
My mates love bringing that one out.
Can,
Don't worry about it.
can understand why Greer wanted to get involved, mate.
well,
Yeah,
very sharp.
well, you can see she's got a
lady.
bit of a catch, hasn't she? So,
A lady of good taste.
yeah, exactly right.
Hey, just take us back to where it all started. I know earlier in the week you told me you actually played your first game for actually the original Bremer Football Club. Is that right?
Yeah, well, that's right, because my brother David, or Snake as he's better known, he used to go down and play footy for Bremer County. In those days, you never had under 10s and under 8s, and if you didn't play under senior culture, you didn't play at all. So David was playing in the under 16s, I think it was, at Bremer County. And I used to sort of hang around there a little bit. There was a few other lads there, like Russell Hay and Billy Hannum and these lads that used to hang around there. And then every now and again, they'd give you a game. So I only played 3 or 4 games, but that was officially the first football I ever played. So it was for Bremer County. So, yeah.
the reason to go there, because obviously your brother was there, but Palomani you sort of caught in between, I suppose, Murray Bridge Football League and the Hills.
Yeah, well, that's right. And sort of, I suppose, growing up, we played football. You talk about playing underage footy. While we didn't play underage footy, we kicked the football all the time. At home we would always be kicking the football. And then it was just a bit of a natural progression. And I think one of our cousins picked David, used to pick David up and take him to the footy down there, and it just grew from there. And then basically, I didn't actually play competitive football really till I was in first year high school.
Yep.
I played. A lot of people wouldn't know I played a couple of games for Imps in Murray Bridge.
Yeah.
Oh, I went associated with Ramblers, mate.
Yeah, because Kevin Kleinschmidt was the grade 7 teacher.
Okay.
When I was in grade 7, and he was coaching the Imperials under 15s, and he talked me into coming out and have a run there. So I played about 2 or 3 games for Imperials, and then sort of gave it up. I don't know why, and then I went to high school and got mixed up with the Rambler boys in first year high school and started playing for Ramblers. So that's where it sort of all started.
So I think you said about 1980 you ventured down the parade. Is that
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Did you play underage football at Nugget? Or?
Well, what actually happened was in 1980, Norwood came out and seen me and said, we want you to come down and play in the underage competition. So at that same particular time, don't put that photo up, at that same particular, looks like we should be in jail.
Well, where's a thing coming again then?
Oh, yep.
Obviously by popular demand.
Yeah, but anyway, so Bowden Sabolka, now there's a gun.
Yes, a gun footballer.
Yeah, he won seven male medals in the River Murray League. He was playing for Ramblers and coaching Ramblers. He came to me when I was 16 and said, look, we want you to come out and have a go in the A grade. Or train with the seniors. So I sort of knocked Norwood back. I said, no, because back in the day, playing A grade footy in the River Murray, and they had some gun size Ramblers in the late 70s, early 80s, it was a big thing.
Yeah.
And so I decided to go out and I knocked Norwood back and said, I know I'm playing with the Ramblers this year. So I played that year in 1980 in A grade footy for Ramblers most of the year. But there's a little bit of a backstory to that, and is that the year before, David, or Snake had played full forward for Ramblers in a premiership, right? And he kicked about 70 odd goals. It was a hell of an effort. He goes on a cruise, but the trial games are on, right? I think it was a cruise. For some reason, he went missing. And so they said, well, you can play full forward. So I played 2 trial games. He kicked, I think, 12 or 14 goals in 2 trial games. And David got back from the cruise and he was playing in the B grade. And so he wasn't too impressed about that, but he did go on to say later in life that, well, at least got replaced by someone who wanted to play AFL football. But it caused a bit of a family rift there for a while.
Didn't talk at shows?
No, he was a very quiet around the kitchen table for a while, but we all moved on and got over it. So, so then the next year I sort of played most of that year in the A grade. I think I probably kicked about 50 odd goals.
He never got back into full forward?
No, and well, he did later after
you left.
Did you actually get to play together in a game?
We played actually in 1980. We played in the B grade grand final together. So I got dropped for the A grade grand final.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got dropped?
Yeah, I did. And we played in the B grade grand final together.
Did you win?
Yeah, we did.
A grade lose?
No, they won. We were always going to probably win. And so that was sort of a bit of an interesting twist. And probably in some ways, I was sort of a little bit peeved off about being dropped from the grand final.
Right.
And then Norwood came back.
You played every game up until then?
Virtually, I think I played most of the year.
Derek Kickett style?
Yeah, it was very harsh. And so then Norwood come back the following year, and I said, look, I think I'll come and have a go.
Yeah.
So I went down to for under 19s.
Yes.
And look, I remember getting out of the car there, and there was about 150 kids there, and I thought, cool, could be in a bit of strife here. But as it turned out, you soon work out that they might have been a bit fitter and a bit that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, you weren't that far off the mark. So and just played under 19s. I played about 7 games in the under 19s, and then they picked a state under 19 side to play the old Till Cup side.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were preparing for the Till Cup.
Yeah.
And I think it was 2 or 3 years. 2 or 3 years. And so I and we played the state under 19s played the state under 17s at Woodville Oval, and I don't know, I must have played it right, and obviously someone was watching, and all of a sudden I get a phone call on probably the Monday after that. We want you to come and train with the seniors. You'll be playing reserves this week.
Was it the man himself?
Who?
Barney?
No, it was the recruiting man.
Yeah,
He just rang up and said, Neil, get yourself to train Tuesday night for the seniors. And it was a bit of a
daunting.
meteoric rise to sort of get to that level from 6 months ago playing for Ramblers in the B grade virtually.
Yeah.
So I must admit it was a bit daunting to roll up to Norwood and walk through the doors to the Norwood Footy Club as a 17-year-old, not knowing anyone, and be out there for training with the seniors and run around with these blokes you've been watching on telly for years. So it was a massive step.
And your first league game, can you remember that?
Well, yeah, I played about 4 games in the reserves, and I played actually some reasonable footy in the reserves for about 3 or 4 games, and all of a sudden I got the phone call. They told me on the sort of Tuesday night, you'll be playing league footy, you'll be playing the league side next week. So I'd gone in the space of sort of 6 months to play league footy for Norwood, and so we played Glenelg at Footy Park, I think it was. I think it was about 35,000 people. So it was a bit of a daunting experience.
Was that the same day Jim Michael Annie played the first game too? Played his first game?
I reckon he was probably established when I got into that side. He was a very good very good footballer. But so to sort of rise through the ranks that quickly and end up playing a game of league footy, it was a bit daunting, and to say I was nervous and damaged the Dalton a little bit, it would have been an understatement.
And you went all right?
No, I didn't play that well. Pete, I always remember Peter Carey sat on my head. I mean, I wasn't real smart beforehand, but I think that might have something to do with what you're looking at now. I think he fell into my head, but that might have been an highlight of my day. So yeah.
But obviously you progressed through. You didn't 82. You didn't.
Yes. So basically, what happened was I only played that one game that year, and then the next, it was only probably a couple of weeks later, I injured my back. And I was out for about...
Carrying that big frame around.
Yeah, it seems this guy, no. But...
Too much Flashback.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, so I injured me back, and I was out for about 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I could not get me back right. And they sent me to all these blokes in Adelaide and all the rest of it, specialists, and I eventually got it right. So I had a good pre-season in 82, and I think I played about 14 games in 82. And was in the squad for to train for during the finals for the premiership lead up. So it sort of started to establish myself a little bit, I suppose. And then they won the flag in 82.
Yeah.
And then 83, I played the whole year, I think. Yeah. 17 or 18 games, whatever it was. Yeah, most of the year.
So I'm right in saying, and pre-freeway days, I suggest you used to travel a couple of times a week down for train down the parade from.
Yeah, well, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, if you tried it now, it's just how the whole thing has changed. Isn't it? I mean, if you tried that now, where I remember when the Norwood bloke came out and sat down in the lounge room with mum and dad and myself, and we said, "Oh, Neil, basically mum and dad said, we only coming down 2 nights a week. That's it. And you won't be training on Sundays." And the bloke went, "No worries." Walked out, have a nice day.
Oh, by the way, here's a white envelope.
So you just, that was it. And so for my whole career at Norwood, I trained Tuesday, Thursday nights. I used to do Monday and Wednesday, sort of not do some weights on Wednesday at home, or
in the water tank.
In the water tank. And it was 10 degrees outside, it was 47 in the water tank.
Yeah, that always intrigued me, Nugget, because for those listeners, there was an old sort of water tank that you made into a gym inside. Now, I'd suggest that they get pretty warm at Palomano anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean...
And you're trying to put on weight, and you're in a water tank's probably 50 degrees, and it's just sweating.
It was frightening. I mean, it'd have been 27 degrees outside. It would have been 37 in that water tank. It was about 10. The roof was about 10. There was no ceiling. It was just a corrugated iron roof.
Oh no!
We had to put some netting around the side to keep the spoggies out. Otherwise, they'd shit over everything. And so, Yeah. So she was pretty primitive, but we had to find somewhere to do weights. So, oh God, I spent some time in that tank.
Yeah.
Seriously. And they,
And the six-pack goes.
People would come, where's Neil? Well, he's in the tank.
that's right.
Yeah.
He's in the what?
That's right. Just didn't have a mobile phone at the
No,
time. Yeah.
that's right. Hey, so probably one of the highlights of your career at Northern, or definitely I'd suggest the 1984 Premiership, mate.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Coming from fifth spot, of course.
yeah. Look, to be involved in that, I mean, when you look at the side that we had probably during that time in the 80s, like that was we had some gun footballers running around, you know, the McIntoshes and Aish and Thomas and Gallagher, and you just keep stringing them off, you know, gun footballers. So we probably, to a certain extent, maybe should have done better. Maybe we should have won a couple more for that side we had. But in '84, we had a very good side. Neville Roberts, for argument's sake.
Yeah.
Now he was an absolute gun. Rocky Roberts. He was a quality player.
I actually remember 1984, grand final week.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the parade with a whole heap of mates just to watch training. There were thousands.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
Thousands.
yes, Neil said Nord, one of the big traditional clubs, and because set up against their greatest rival ever, Port Adelaide, it was all set up, wasn't it?
I mean, if you had to script something, you couldn't script it better. But we weren't going terribly well, and the turning point was we went out to Central, and we never liked going to Central at the best of times. You know, getting out of the leafy suburbs of Norwood, we don't want to leave that.
Well, you're too worried, mate, that your car wouldn't be there when you went back out after the game.
I had to take someone with me to watch the car. I had to take Snake with me to watch the car. He didn't see the footy, and so we went out to Central and we got absolutely belted. And Neil Barham was I mean, if you watched the highlights of Neil Barham in his playing days, you know, he was fairly aggressive, you'd have to say. And
even when he did actually play a couple of games for Nord, he was.
Oh my goodness! Seriously, he had a true sense of white line fever.
Yeah.
If Neil Barham walked in here now, he'd be the nicest bloke ever, mate. He'd cross the line and stand him. He want to kill you.
Yeah.
And so we got beaten, I think, by 90 points. And at Centrals, we came back and Barney was not happy. That's probably the most unhappy I've ever seen him. And he got into us and we trained and he ran us into the ground and we somehow got ourselves back on track and we started playing some unbelievable footy running into the finals. And so we had to win 4 finals to win the premiership.
Yeah, sure.
And in each one of those games, there was probably a time when you were on the edge of the cliff, you were looking over where you could have lost the game.
Oh, of course.
And it's amazing what you can do, I suppose, if you get a group of blokes together that are on the same page. Obviously, good footballers, a lot of good footballers. It's amazing, and belief in what you're doing. It's amazing what you can achieve and how we achieved that was unbelievable because we won, had to win 4 finals and then to beat Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Alan Shield was the football writer in the advertising, and I think he wrote somewhere that it was one of the great grand finals ever been played anywhere. It was an unbelievable situation to actually be able to make history and play in that game. So, and certainly celebrated in due course. Yeah.
Because you said rucking duties of Big John Hall.
Big Johnny Hall. Yeah, that's
played
right.
a part.
Yep, yeah, that's right. So, and it was just and I think you hit the nail on the head. I think in it doesn't matter whether it's sport, business, or whatever. If everybody plays their part and everyone's on the same page, it's amazing what you can do.
There's some big names here, isn't there?
Yeah,
Craig Barham, Waldhurst, Macca, Jim Michaelani, and Peter Lachlan.
Yeah, come over from Melbourne.
Well, Richmond. He came from Richmond. Like he was a very good.
And that was their spine. And Michael Aish and Danny Jenkins.
And
Keith, much better
Keith Thomas.
Keith Thomas.
Yeah, and
Greg Thomas.
Yep.
Glenn Vardaniger, David Payne.
Yep.
The great Phil Gallagher on the wing.
That's right.
Jim Michaelani, Waldhurst,
Jarvis.
and then put Neville Roberts at full forward.
Yep.
Who kicked 7, and I think he might have kicked 100 that year. I don't know exactly what he kicked, but he kicked a lot of goals. He was an absolute gun. So
15, 10, 100 to 13, 13.
I think he was the first Nord player to kick 100 since Bruce Schultz.
That's right.
That was a game where Thomas got the ball on the wing.
Yeah, that's right. Took that unbelievable.
That was amazing.
Actually, that was the beginning of the end of lining up for the national anthem.
I was just about to say, where were you?
Because Barmy.
Well, I started on the bench that day, so I was just sort of standing there watching, and all of a sudden it's standing up for the national anthem, paying my respects.
Yeah.
And she's on for young and old. So now they line them up and look at each other saying,
Yeah, they do.
You
You
can't
keep
do
you
it.
apart.
that was the end of that. That was the end of that. So, yeah.
And 1985, you win the Most Improved Award for Norwood Football Club.
Yes,
So obviously
yeah.
developing through. So.
Yeah, I probably, I don't know, it took me a couple of years to establish myself, I suppose. And then 83 I had a reasonable year, 84 was okay, and then 85 I had another good year. And yeah, I think, picked up that award. And then I think probably 86 was probably the best year of football I played
Pretty
in my
great.
life.
Pretty
Yeah.
big.
One of my lasting memories of watching this bloke play,
This will be good.
this
here
is
we
a
go.
true
This
story.
is a true story.
Okay.
I think I mentioned this to you before.
This is why.
Oh, yeah, this is a worry.
At the Sterling pub on a Sunday.
This is why he's good.
It was a Sunday game down at Richmond, and the public was
Oh,
a dead
no.
set Westie supporter, and one of my mates mad Nord. So we go down, and they have 100 on it. Right, it's a very close game, all the way through. Anyway, Mark Micken gets paid a free kick, probably the last kick of the day,
Can't believe you're bringing this
and
up.
some bloke here happens to run through to Mark or something.
No,
And was it Laurie Argent or something?
that Laurie Argent, he didn't like you.
So he advances. Micken do kicking distance, and because Micken wasn't the best, even though he's your captain later
Yeah,
on at
that's
Bearsville,
right.
and he drills the goal. And I think Westie's
Won the
ended up
game.
winning by a couple of points, and because my mates just said thank you to the other bloke. The other bloke was all, we've got, I got $100, and then suddenly it's quickly changed thanks to a good man here.
Well, yeah, I remember. And Mickers, like when I met, I didn't know Mickers,
Yeah.
but he came up to Brisbane. He actually lived with us, me and Greer, for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I had this out with him time and time again. Because what I did, I got the ball and I thought, what I'll do is I'll toss it back nice and
the
high
smart
and give
ass.
all our boys enough
Time
time
to
to run
get
back.
back.
Yeah.
Well, I reckon my theory on it is, and I think this has been disproved by a couple of my mates, but I reckon that I threw it pretty well, quite straight to him, and he made no attempt to grab the ball.
Yeah.
And that Laurie Argent, he
He
didn't
just-
like Nord, and 15-metre penalty, put him in range,
Yeah.
kicked it and lost the. Well, that's when you don't want to go back in the change room, isn't it? But
What
Barney was
Barney
pretty good
say?
about. Oh, Barney didn't say much. He said, just one of those things, you know.
Did Argent take into effect you say too? And you threw it back normally, but
That's right. But I used to have a go at Mickers about that, but he reckons that I threw it back fairly average. So,
Now, as I said, 87 you make the move as a normal bear, but you actually sussed out perhaps overtures were made to you by Fitzroy and Sydney, or South Melbourne at that
yeah,
stage.
that's right.
Sydney
So,
Sox.
so if you sort of take a little bit of a step back, you know how sometimes in life you perhaps do the right thing at the right time. Norwood played a game.
Like Richmond Oval.
Yeah, that's right. That's when you do the wrong thing at the wrong time. But when Norwood played Essendon in one of those Victorian sides versus South Australia, I don't know what it was called back then, I can't remember.
NFL Cup or something.
Yeah, something like that. So Essendon came over to play Norwood. So 86 they got a pretty good side. And so I reckon I probably played that night. That was a night game. Probably the best game of football maybe I've ever played in my life. And I got best player for Norwood. And there was back in the 80s, there was a big football magazine called Inside Football.
yes, yeah.
Everybody went and got the Inside Football on a Friday night and read that. And Kevin Sheedy wrote an article in there. And so in this article, in this Kevin Sheedy column, down the bottom, he wrote, we played Norwood on Tuesday night at Football Park. I saw a young bloke play called Nugget Hein, and he called me. I reckon he called me athletic. I don't know what he'd been doing. I don't know what he'd been drinking or smoking something. I don't know. But he called me athletic and maybe even skillful. Now that's really stretching it. And so
Maybe you're sending a decoy.
that's right.
Yeah.
I thought, hey,
Robert Swan.
I'm all reading
Swan
this
Robert,
right.
whatever. What was John Roberts' alias?
Oh, yeah, Robert Swan.
So anyway, so what happened? He wrote this article, and then at the end of the article, he basically said, I think it was something like, "On your game Tuesday night, Mr. Hein, exceptionally well done."
Wow.
And I think there should be a few VFL clubs looking at this play, or at this play.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose when Kevin Sheedy speaks, everyone tends to listen. So all of a sudden the phone starts ringing. So Sydney was on the phone, and then Fitzroy were on the phone. And so it sort of progressed along a little bit that there was a few blokes making a few approaches. But then there's Shane O'Sullivan who was recruiting
Yeah,
there for
yeah,
Brisbane,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you'll see him in a lot of clips with the
Yeah.
early Carlton clips.
Yes,
He's
that's right.
like
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the bench and stuff.
Very good man.
He was a very good football man. He was a good bloke, Shane. And also the phone rings. Shane O'Sullivan here. We've been watching you. We're forming a new club here in Brisbane. Where do you live? I said at Parramatta. He said,
What, Parramatta?
That's right. Yeah, you know, Sydney. Couldn't find it. Took me 4 days to get there. But,
I lost it there.
so he said, look, I'm coming up. I got on a plane. I'm coming to see you. He said, give me the directions. And so I gave him the directions. I said, you'll never find me. Right? You'll never find me. I can't see you find me. He said, I'll meet you in Murray Bridge. No. I fly all over Australia. I drive all over the countryside. I'll find you. Sure enough, he said he was going to be there at 2 o'clock. He rolled up at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Drove in the driveway. And basically just sat down and said, look, you know, me and Peter Knights he was going to be the coach. We've been watching you over the year. We're forming this club. We want you to come and play for us. And so that was the sort of the real solid approach, I suppose. The other ones were sort of just in the wing.
Yeah, feelers. Yeah.
And I sort of thought, you know, if you look back on it, I suppose maybe it would have been better to go to perhaps a more established club in Melbourne or something like that. But it was it was an offer. You'd regret not taking it and not having a go at it. Exciting, and everyone's goal that played league football in South Australia was to play in the big league.
Yeah.
So I jumped at it at the end of the day.
All right, you're on to Saturday Sports.
Part 1.
And we might take a little bit of a musical interlude here as we work through some of Nuggets' favourites from the 80s. And we'll come back and actually talk about your time at the Brisbane Bears here on the Saturday Sports Brief, 88.99. Our special guest, Neil Nugget Hein. Back shortly.
And this is what happened after Sam's on a Saturday night.
Right, Rob? Yeah. All right. So we're still on the live stream here. Thanks, everyone. We got some comments. Gav Godekid, great man. Adelaide
Yes.
Hills Insurance Brokers, of course. He says, great interviews, memories of Neil and the great Norwood side of the 80s. And Tim Glover also. Tim Glover says, the great man. Hell, he's got a bit of a schnoz. But yeah.
That's not very nice.
Do you need a pay rise, mate? 'Cause,
Yeah, I know, that's right.
We just got a 6%.
I'll give you a...
I'll tell you what.
Timmy, 6.1% for the man.
If Tim's going to give me a pay rise, he must be having a good day.
All right. We'll be back shortly with Nug. Need any water there, Nug? You
No,
all right?
all good, all good. So yes, all going well.
Geez, that was a good
Got any
time.
more images?
Sorry?
Any more images you want? Or
I've
some
got
of the...
I have got...
It was a good
I've got
side.
something down here.
Oh, mate, when you look
I'll show
at
the
it,
original
you don't
photo
realise.
just in case people have... The modelling shot.
The other thing is too, if you
Modelling
brought
shot
up
there?
if you brought up the Port Adelaide side, right?
Yeah,
You could have a look at the Port Adelaide side. I mean, that's a great
I was going to
side.
say that was one of the
Even
best.
Bit of early
Russell,
Nug there.
Bradley,
Yeah.
all these
Clifford.
blokes. Like there were some gun footballers running around at Port Adelaide too, even though we hate them. You know, yeah, on the field.
Martin Leslie, he was
Leslie was playing, yeah.
Tim
Tim Evans.
You had to walk away, realise the sleeves caught on the...
Oh, Timmy Glover wants the fence post again, so they're loving that.
Ah.
Just in case the live streamers have just tuned in, can you set the scene, Nugget, just for our listener watchers again, what this is all about?
Well, that's when I was. The advertiser came out of the farm and said, "Look, Neil, we want you. You're contemplating going to Brisbane. There's a fence post over there. Can you lean on it and look like you're contemplating your future?" And I don't know. I think I might have pulled off the brief.
Where was the cow?
That could have been in vogue.
And I've said it once. I'll say it again. That is a hanky in my pocket. There was
Not a tear in
not
the
a shack
pants?
next door.
Huh?
All right.
Tim Glover says you're the Prince of Parramatta, so there you go.
But,
Oh, that's the...
yeah.
Oh god, that's a horrid photo, isn't it?
That's a young,
That's
a
right.
young fella.
From the team.
an early Nug.
15 seconds, boys.
Oh, right.
All right, we're back now, shortly.
You take it, Jeff?
Yes.
Time to chat about the Bears.
So back on 88.9 FM, the Saturday morning brief, just a style of Robbie Sherwood and our special guest, the Prince of Palomana, Neil Nugget Hein. So we've talked about your early days, mate, and then you, as said, everyone's goal to reach the big league, and you get the opportunity when you're actually pre-draft. I think there was 6 or 7 picks,
Yeah,
so
that's
you're
right.
actually, as you said, hand-picked by the Bears to join the...
Yep.
So how was it, a boy going from Metropolis to Palomana? Finally, you find yourself in not only the big league, but living away from home in the hustle bustle, the Gold Coast being involved there, and also Brisbane. How was that?
Oh, look, it was a big change. I mean, when you come off the farm, I mean, I basically was living at home on the farm, travelling north to play footy. And look, it was probably a good thing too that I'd met, like Greer Pake.
Yep.
She was a local Mount Barker girl. I'd met her in February 1986. She probably reckons she's responsible for my great year of football in 1986. She's taking credit for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Stopped you going to sand?
Yeah, that's right. Got me off the Terps. So we sort of made a decision, I suppose, together. Like, I wasn't really going to go to Brisbane unless Greer was going to come with me.
Sure.
So we sat down and made a decision that we'd have a go at this. But it was probably one of the toughest days of my life, actually, to sort of hop on that plane and leave. You know, I had a good, I always had a good family life. Greer was a bit the same. Good friends, pretty comfortable. And to take yourself out of that environment and put yourself in a totally foreign environment, living in a unit in Brisbane, it was a massive step, and it was a pretty hard day up on that plane. It was, when you knew you were sort of leaving.
Yeah.
I remember when people, and just getting back to that, probably, and if Greer probably, I don't know, if she would have came with me, maybe I wouldn't have gone. But yeah, so people said before I left, you'll probably get homesick. And I said, homesick, whatever, what's that? And they said, being homesick's not great. And we did, we got terribly homesick for the first couple of months. It was really we were both very homesick. But when we played that first game down in Melbourne and we both came home for that weekend, that's sort of where we sort of turned the corner a bit from that point of view. You know, you sort of, I don't know, it was just because you knew you could get home, but we came home, seen the family for a weekend, went back, and then Brisbane was home.
Of course, that memorable first game, MCG,
Yep.
not only are you going to a different city, you actually get to play on the Māori MCG,
Yes.
because you beat
Yes.
North Melbourne first game, and because you just racked it up, mate, with 4 disposals.
Yeah, that's right.
But 2 vital goals as the Bears get over the line, and then, of course, the club song.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean,
No one knew it.
it was like it had written. But yeah, I mean, I suppose it was an interesting journey to get to that point, because it was there's a bit of a story of that too. Like when I was training to go to Brisbane, I thought, well, look, normally even with Norwood, I was probably training 12 months of the year, but I thought I better ramp it up a bit, seeing I'm going up to into the big league. And I had this sore knee for the whole of the time that I was training to go to Brisbane. I had a sore knee for most of that year for Norwood, and it was just enough. You couldn't bend it terribly well, but it wasn't that restrictive. The first training session of the Brisbane Bears, this knee was a bit sore. I'm standing there, I'm just doing a simple thing like skipping, and my knee went like that, and I went, what the hell? It's like someone was like shoving a knife into the side of my knee, and I'd torn a cartilage in the first hour of training.
Skipping.
So skipping, but it had been sore for months.
Yeah.
And it went. So anyway, they reckon we're going to fly down to Melbourne.
Athletic.
Right? Yeah. Such an athlete.
Review sheets.
I'd never seen a skipping rope after that point. They did that at the time. So they flew me down to Melbourne. The story was, they flew me and Greer down to Melbourne. Mark McClure, Sellers, he picks us up from the airport, takes me to this surgeon. I'm standing there at the front desk, and the girl behind the desk goes, okay, yeah, Mr. Hein, you're here for this surgery? Yeah. What health fund are you with? And I went, health fund? Medicare or whatever. No, what private health fund are you with? I said, I haven't got any private health cover. They went, hang on a minute. we're not operating on you if you haven't got private health cover.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what they said. So all of a sudden, there was a lot of sellers was making a lot of phone calls and a lot of backwards and forwards. And Brisbane had to stump up the money for the operation. So the next week at training, a letter come out to every player. Please get rate of incident. Please get some health cover. Yeah, so they wouldn't operate him in his private surgery.
Just gave a couple of nights out the ashtray.
That's right, out of the rolls, he threw them out the window. So yeah, that was an interesting story. But the first training session broke down, and
so it's just a meniscus tear, something that was.
Well, it was a really weird one, and I never probably got to the bottom of it. But they didn't let me run for 7 weeks.
Really?
And so they put me in the pool, right? Now there's not a lot of water at Palomar, right? And so I'd never learned to swim. So there was me and the
Did you get the secret drops?
It wasn't any long enough. It was all right for me brothers. They were only 6'3". They were short, and so I get in this. They said you got to go over to the pool deal. You're in rehab, right? And rehab.
Like after Sam's disco style.
That's right.
Floaties.
And anyway, Benny Harris, he went up there as well. And me and Benny, like there were these other blokes that come up from Melbourne that were doing rehab, and they were swimming lap after lap. And me and Benny couldn't swim. So we were thrashing around there in the pool. Like we could only go in the lane next to the wall because otherwise we would have drowned. So we could grab onto it. But after about 7 weeks in the pool, I actually taught myself to swim. But so through all of that, I somehow played a couple of regional trial games and got selected in the first side, and down to Melbourne we went. So, yeah.
Now, you are actually listed.
Oh, hang on.
Here we go.
This is a worry.
As the 8th, you know how you give the caps if it was like the Test cricket?
Yeah.
Caps for the shirts.
Yep.
Or, it could be on the biggest jumper here. These will just show that to everyone.
Number 8.
But you're actually the 8th listed player in the Bears timeline. You're
Is that right?
listed the 8th player to play for the Bears.
Okay.
Like you all played in the first game. But, so I don't know, Peter Bamford was listed as number 1.
Yeah, okay.
I've got the list here.
No, I didn't realise.
But I thought it might have been alphabetical order because they all played in the first game. But Neil Hein is down here at number 8, as you can see. You're actually ahead of, I think M comes before N in the alphabet, but you're listed ahead of Michael McCarthy, Mark Mickens, so there you go.
Was Choco Williams up there?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, at the same time?
Yeah, he was there. So Choco was the vice captain.
Yeah, Choco's actually listed as the 20, because you played 20 aside those days? Or?
Yeah, 20, 21, somewhere like that.
There's some interesting names here, because Johnny Fidge, Brad Hardy, Bernie Harris, Cameron O'Brien. Some blokes of obscurity here, Nugget, in their first season.
Yeah.
Darryl Cox, you remember him?
Yeah,
debuted in round 2.
Yeah, he was from Melbourne, I reckon.
Yeah,
he
played one game.
Yeah.
So he had a checkered career for the Bears. Also in round 4, sorry Rob, Rick Norman.
Who?
Yeah, Rick Norman, Sheepers.
Once again,
Greg's brother.
Yeah, once again only the one game in his AFL career.
Yeah.
And a bloke called Alan Giffard in round 9.
Yeah.
Debuted for one game.
Yeah.
So there you go. And also Jamie Dersma.
Yeah, Jamie Dersma. He came up from Sydney.
Yeah, played one game in the last round of that season. And then, of course, the next year, you're there for 2 years.
Yeah, that's right.
Of course, the great Warwick Kappa made his debut. How was that with Warwick?
There was a lot of fanfare in Warwick.
And also big Roger Merritt didn't really like Wazza much. Used to eat him when he played for Essendon. He's his teammate.
Yeah, he was like Roger. Well, I always thought to myself when I was doing competitive work against Roger Merritt, I thought, I'm not getting paid enough for this, right? Like, he was a pretty angry man. Great bloke, but he was a bit of an angry man on the football.
So was it because he's from the Wimmera?
Yeah, that's right. He's from Dinball or somewhere.
He said as a kid he used to sit under the tree and catch flies and pull the wings off. Big Roger. But because he went on, I think he played the most games for the Brisbane Bears.
Yeah, he was a stalwart of the club and great player. But he was a hard man. But yeah, so Warwick rolled up and there was much fanfare there, and so played a few games with Warwick.
And just getting back to Brad Hardy, was he as good as people?
He was an outstanding footballer. I mean, you could see why he would have won a Brownlow medal.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't probably, and I really
he didn't look like a footballer.
No, he was.
No, that's right.
But he had that much ability and a very skillful player. And you remember back to those games when I remember watching those State of Origin games.
Yes.
He was playing for WA.
WA, of course,
That's where he
yes.
sort of made his name, I suppose, and then they got him over to Footscray and he won that medal. But he was probably not the hardest trainer I've ever seen. I remember a few times, nights he's screaming, the veins coming out of nights his neck as he's screaming at him, and he was just kept jogging along. He was fairly lackadaisical, and but he just got by on pure talent, really. He was just a ball magnet.
Yeah.
Now, it's always a difficult job, I suppose, bearing in mind that the same year, 87, when you set up, the West Coast Eagles came into play as well. So setting up an inaugural club, I'd say the Eagles would have had a bit more football background behind them in the West than
100%.
in the Gold Coast. Peter Knight's obviously a difficult job, and as you mentioned before, I didn't realise this, that Mark McClure was actually the assistant coach.
Yeah, that's right.
in
So
that inaugural
Okay.
year.
Yep,
So
he presented the Guernsey. I've got a photo with him presenting the Guernsey too.
Well, that one there.
Yep. So, yeah, that's right.
Of course, the famous number 15.
Yeah.
Now, 15 games. How many
Yeah,
games?
15 games.
15 games.
Yeah.
12 goals.
12
Yeah,
goals.
that's right.
Now, you are the most, up to 1996 merger, you were the most famous, the merger became the Brisbane Lions. Right?
Yeah.
You were the most famous, perhaps best return of anyone in the number 15 Guernsey Nugget, because I can tell you,
hanging me out on that.
yeah,
This will be good.
87, 88. Now, a bloke called Chris O'Sullivan took over number 15 in 89, 90
Right.
for 2 games.
Well, he was no good.
So he got the Tijuana. Then we
I
had,
wanted to talk to him.
then had Paul Spargo in 1993, played 9 games.
Oh, Sparg nearly got me.
And then Troy Lehman, I think it's from South Australia originally.
Yeah.
Might be Kim Lehman's played for North, his son. 1994, he played 10 games.
So pretty good.
So up until 1996, 15 games was the benchmark for the number 15 jumper.
15 Guernsey.
So
And then
right.
onwards,
For the
it
Brisbane
was
Bears.
when they went to present number 15 the following years. No, we don't want that.
Yeah, well that's right. Was it? Did you put the Jonah on it?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'll tell you what, those stats here, I'm happy you brought them up. I'll be telling a few blokes at the footy.
The most famous number 15 for the Brisbane Bears was
Yeah,
you.
I'll be pumping my own time.
June
up there.
96.
Yeah. Hey, just quickly, it's great having a chat to you. We're starting to run out of time, so I'll just move a few things quickly. Just of course, obviously the Quintex influence, Christopher Skase, of course, Dave Sullivan, Paul Croner was the first chairman.
Yeah,
Did he
that's
treat you all like kids on the Sullivans? Or?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, Paul Cronin, former with
North
Wistow.
Yep.
And played Mount Barker Premiership,
Yeah,
I think.
well,
back in the
I
day.
think, look, Greer's like father Lloyd.
Yeah.
Played football with him.
Yes.
So well.
Yeah, it is. It's unbelievable. And when look, Paul Cronin.
Yeah.
He was actually a pretty good player.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when Lloyd and Bow came up, stayed with us. Like he remembered Lloyd and had a chat to him. Yeah, he was a pretty down to earth sort of bloke.
Yeah.
Probably didn't get perhaps as much credit as he should have for setting the club up.
Yeah.
And then Christopher Skase, well, look, I mean, that, jeepers, like I said to you earlier, I mean, every time I saw him on that ventilator, I thought, jeepers, I feel a little bit responsible for this. I think he paid me too much. You know?
Doing it tough over that Majorca.
Yeah, that's right. So, but it was, when you look at it now, I suppose, you look back, there was the Rolls Royce and flying in with a helicopter, him and Pixie and all the fun and fancy.
Is it
There
right?
wasn't much behind it, was there?
So
You know?
maybe saying because playing at Carrara, whether there should have been in Brisbane from the start,
Should have been.
debatable. But maybe the same like it was virtually Atco Huts or something. You get changed.
Yeah, that's right.
And every home game, Christopher would have the owners' luncheon and fly in the caviar and everything from Sydney and Pixie get the hair done. And you blokes the most important commodity you think is in football.
We're in the Atco Huts.
We're in Atco Huts.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you look at it now, I mean, when you think about it, like, you know, there was always this sort of a bit of a stigma with those early years of the bad news bears. You know, some of those guys like Rainsy was on front bar the other night.
Very good football.
Brad Hardy was talked about it as well. I reckon it was a bit of probably a stigma that shouldn't have been applied to us because we won about 3 or 4 games in the first year. They're a club, have been clubs that have been around for 100 years and only won 3 games.
Yeah, that's right.
And when you set up a club now, I mean, you give all the resources.
They're lucky to win a game.
Yeah, you give them all the resources, the best of everything. But we started from a pretty.
It's funny you mentioned that, Nate, because in one of these hard-hitting columns he did in the Tiser, he did mention that and the fact that he didn't finish bottom, and actually Richmond were bottom, which the club had been around for 100 years.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You sort of look at it, you know, this bad news bears, but really, with what we were given and how it was set up, we probably did pretty well. And a lot of those players, like you talk about the Rains and the Williams and these guys and Brad Hardy. Perhaps they were on the end of perhaps towards the end of their career.
Yeah.
So in the end, it was.
And what did it take them? 17 years to win their first race? Or 15 years. 15 years to win.
Yeah, well, Lee Matthews,
Yeah.
No, it took when they won the first one, 2001.
2001.
Yeah, so 87, so 14
1, 2 and
years.
3.
Yeah, that's right. So, so I mean, at the end of the day, it wasn't ideal. We probably knew we should have been in Brisbane. All the players knew that. As I said earlier, we used to train at Cooperoo, go down to Carrara when we trained there when we play a home game. So, considering all things, we probably didn't do too bad, really.
Is it just a stigma associated with professional sport in Australia? Any team that's based on the Gold Coast, whether it's because it's Miami Balls, my family style lifestyle? Because look at they had the Gold Coast Eagles for a while, and run Seagulls. Wally Lewis. They said that folded. They haven't been very good in NBL competition.
No, Titans.
Because the Bears, the Titans are doing all right.
Soccer.
And the soccer.
Yeah, that's right.
Is it because of that lifestyle that perceived? It's just holiday island. Like, tell us your training, and.
Yeah, well, you look back on it, it is certainly a relaxed lifestyle. I mean, you're walking around in shorts every day of the year, the sun's shining, the birds are chirping, it's all very nice, and you can go out and have a beer and do all this, and it is a great place to be social. And maybe that does influence it.
And anonymity.
Yeah, that's right.
As in
no one knows
the
you.
Limelight. Exactly right. If you did some of the stuff that went on
no one knows you.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be all over you, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
No one knows you.
That's right.
Like no one would come up at Campbell Avenue nightclub and say, "Hey, you're that bloke from Calamana.
Hey, I remember you at Sam's.
You're the bloke on the fence post."
With that big hanky. Yeah, with that massive hanky.
Hey, so 1988, you decided at the end of the season what time was up for you?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. We probably, I suppose everybody reaches a ceiling, don't you? And whenever you go and do
You've
something.
had enough.
Yeah, when you go and do something, as you go up the levels, I mean, some people's ceiling is 300 games and playing in the premiership, and some people's ceiling might be 15 games for the Bears, right? But I probably got to the point there where I sort of thought towards the end of the season, I don't know, we've got a future here. We were still a bit.
Alan Gifford's ceiling was one.
Poor old Alan. What happened there? I must have
Catch him up at the next reunion.
Too many skip. Too much skipping.
Skipping rope. Right there.
Just avoid those avoid those skipping rope. But yeah, so it's we just sort of got to the end of the year. We probably still wanted to get home. You know what I mean? We were a long way from Brisbane. Is a long way away.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look back on it, I have no regrets whatsoever. But if you look back on it, perhaps if you would have went to a club in Melbourne,
established club, or closer to home, as you said,
closer to home,
you could come home. Yeah.
And even back in those days, like to go from the AFL back to the QAFL. Like, I remember playing a few games in the QAFL and then getting selected to play, I reckon that was Melbourne at the MCG. It took you half a game to pick the pace of the game. It was such a difference. It was like, it'd be like playing Mount Barker and going down here and playing league football. You'd be it takes a bit of a while to adjust to that. Yeah. So that's where.
So you were going back to a certain club. It wasn't the Brisbane Bears Reserves. It was Cooperoo or Southport.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there was more. All these blokes were. We were all balloted out to these clubs, so you didn't.
So you didn't even play together.
No, that's right.
So did you know any of your teammates in the Quaffle very well?
Oh, not all that. Well, there was a few, obviously, blokes from Brisbane that were playing there as well. Yeah. But I suppose you train with them every now and again and got to know a few of them. But probably from that point of view, maybe if you, as I said, if you went to an established club where you were and were able to be perhaps playing at a bit of a higher level before you got to the next level.
Yeah.
Don't know. But at the end of the day, we got to the end of '88 and we said, I think we're going home. And we came home and that was it. Yeah.
So come back for one more year.
Yeah, come back for one more year at Norwood.
I tell you what, the stigma around that famous 15 followed you because you actually come back. You were number 5 in the premiership.
Yeah.
You come back and wore number 15 at Norwood.
Yeah, it was.
There you go, magic number.
Yeah. there's something going on
Who
there.
had 5? Who took 5 off you?
I don't know.
Yeah, didn't say that's mine. Can I have it back?
They haven't found him yet.
Not the Murray.
He went for a holiday.
I've got a bat there somewhere.
He went for a holiday at Palomano and he's never seen again.
That's right. Yeah,
See the Falconio style.
Come out of the farm we've never seen again.
Still floating in the Murray. In the bottom.
Shane O'Sullivan don't know how lucky he was.
So I come back and played for Norwood and then went to Watertown.
Yeah, and played in a couple of flags down there.
Yeah, that's right. Played in 3 premierships in a row, won a couple of flags, and then got off the farm and came back up here for a couple of years, and then played in the last ever game for Nan Bremer. So there was a lot of history there.
So
The first game for
Bremer.
Bremer Callington, and the last game for Nan Bremer. So there was a fair bit in between. So yeah.
And life these days, mate, they tell me that you're the
Number 1 sales.
main man out at the
Yeah.
Ramsey. How do you go just propping up Timmy Glover?
Yeah, look, I'm getting a little bit sick of making Tim look good. Hopefully he's listening.
Number 1 sales, like you got here.
That's all right.
Timmy, we just got a 6.1% pay rise at Australia Post.
That's
yeah.
right. I think that should sort of flow through, shouldn't it, really?
Well, if I'm Tim, I'm saying to you, Heine, Nugget, sell more.
Yeah, that's right. I think that might be the word that might come through. I think my phone just went off. But I worked for Ramsey Brothers, been with them for about 9 years now.
Yeah.
So, good mob to work for. So if anybody...
Except a few people.
Yeah, that's right. So if anybody who wants to deal with the best machinery dealer in South Australia, go and see Ramsey Brothers.
Hey,
And give me a call.
You're a country boy.
Tim Glover says, easy, big man.
You're a country boy who's come through the ranks to play
Yeah.
at the highest level, so getting around the country as obviously you do. You see how important community football is. It's a bit sad, like
It is.
already in the news has come BDT and Meningie are going to link up, and I
Yep.
reckon down the track there might be a few more little rural clubs just close up. It's such an important part of football in the community scene, isn't it?
Oh, look, it is. I mean, I travel north, south, east and west in this whole sort of area, and look, you hit the nail on the head. I'm a country bike at heart, always have been, and the local football club, netball club, cricket club, tennis club are they're the heart of the community in country areas, and it's a bit sad to see them to drive around. Every town 40, 50 years ago had a football team and a cricket team and a tennis team. Now they're gradually starting to drop off, and it's a bit sad for the community actually, because country football clubs, it doesn't matter where they are just full of really good people.
Yep.
Really, really good people. So, so it is a bit sad actually.
What do we got?
I don't know if you've seen this. Have
What
you
have we
this
got
plaque
here?
at home?
Oh, I've got a plaque like that.
Just
I
show this Andy for
Inaugural team.
It's
Yes.
an inaugural plaque you can get at Palomano General Store. Just see, another will send it out.
I sold out because I bought the
Only
whole
for
lot of
$500 plus postage, and for an extra 100,000, Nugget will sign it for you. So
Yeah,
that's
that's exactly right.
Bears team when you look at that.
Forward pocket.
Yeah.
Bit of history there.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, no, they gave everyone a plaque that played in the first game, so I've got that somewhere at home. I'm not quite
Hey,
sure
and
where it
just
is.
quickly, we've brushed over, and certainly it was a pretty effective. Obviously, you didn't play state cricket, but cricket, you loved your cricket.
Yes, I absolutely love cricket. I played originally for Monardo, where where the whole sort of family had played for, Dad had played and all that sort of thing. But then me and Snake went to Bremer Callington.
Okay.
We played down there for a few
Oh,
years.
Clive. Wonderful.
Yeah, that's right. So we played there in the 80s. And then obviously Bordertown played cricket and then come back and played for Wistow for probably 10 years and finished out there.
And the boys are still playing at Worcester?
Yeah.
No, the boys.
man.
Yeah. So,
Oh, okay.
so the
Oh,
boys,
yeah.
the boys played. Started with Wistow.
Yep.
Matt went to Strath, then Mitch went to Nan, and then 2 years ago Matt actually moved back to Nan. They played in the premiership together.
And
It was absolutely
Mitchie was
fantastic.
cricket of the year
Yeah,
last
that's
year.
right. Mitch
so
was cricketer of the year.
taught them all they know. Or?
Yeah, well, I keep telling them that, but they don't seem to. They seem to
Spun
switch
them out?
off. They seem
Spun
to,
them out?
they seem to switch off when I start talking about that.
I wonder about that, eh?
That's
It's amazing, isn't it? You don't know anything bad.
That's right.
No, what would you know, mate?
No?
Yeah.
Hey, look, been fantastic for you to join it. Just, I suppose, just a couple of your greatest memories in footy, like Bears and Norwood, obviously winning the flag, but any other things?
Yeah, look,
Funniest moments you've been involved?
Yeah, look, I think probably, I mean, if someone would have told me as a 13-year-old skinny kid on the farm that you're going to play league footy for Norwood and playing a premiership and play AFL footy and play on the MCG, you would have said tell him he's dreaming, So the Norwood obviously premiership is a highlight, but playing that first game for Brisbane is a bit of a highlight. Like it's because you like it's sort of embedded in history, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I know I went up there a few years ago for a reunion, and they just wandered through the club rooms there, and in one of the rooms they had a photo of the original Brisbane Bears side. Yeah. So you sort of and so you're sort of
part of their history forever.
That's exactly right. So that was sort of just how all that worked when I got injured and somehow played a few good games, got in the first side.
Yeah.
That's certainly a highlight. Yeah.
When you look at this, just quickly, team, O'Brien, Roberts, Dixon, Reynoldson, Fidge, Matty Campbell, the late Philip Walsh, of course, Rains, O'Keefe, Brenton Phillips, McCarthy, Michael Richardson, Peter Banfield, Jimmy Edmund, and Neil Hein in the pocket. The first ruck was Mark Micken, Mark Williams, and Bernie Harris, and the interchange was Brad Hardy and Waterson. Of course, the coach was Peter Knight. So.
And what they kicked, 1923.
Yeah, 1923.
That's a lot of scoring shots.
15 forward. You had 2 goals from 4 disposals, so you were very effective.
I was efficient. Yeah, skillful and efficient.
But did you just get the feeling of all you guys like throwing together? Said the bad news bears, but you were creating history, especially the first night when you went out and looked around and thought, gee, this is.
Well, I could sort of remember. I mean, I'd never been to the MCG, and we went down on the Thursday and trained there. And I can remember walking out in the MCG. There was no one there. There was only a few North Melbourne blokes up in the stand. But there was something about the place. There was something about. Yeah, there was. It was just a really. I've never forgotten it. It was just something wandering out there and training on there. You just sort of thought, wow, this is the MCG.
Do you watch much AFL footy now, or more local?
I don't watch a massive amount of football anymore, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Game's
changed, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you guys might be the same. I mean, I can remember back when Friday night football was on or Sunday footy was on. You'd never miss a game.
No, that's right.
And I don't know if it's because you've got so much access to it now that you pick and choose which ones you watch or whatever. We never missed a game when I was 18 or 20. You never miss a game of footy.
It's a different style, though, isn't it?
It is.
It was more physical back in.
Well, it's completely different. I mean, the players of the day, I think, are probably. They're probably more skillful. I think overall. I mean, they're under a lot of pressure.
Just a bit more slightly tuned athletes like you were.
That's right. Maybe not as skillful.
Not as good on the skipping rope.
That's right. But the average footballer and the tackling and the pressure and that sort of stuff, they are under a lot of pressure.
So, did Mum and Dad ask Shane O'Sullivan before you went whether you could just train Tuesday and Thursday night?
No, I wish he would have. Because it was a funny thing. We rolled up there and had pre-season training, and Huddle was being used to playing training a couple of nights a week in Norwood. And training starts and it's 5 nights a week. It was Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then what I found amusing was on Tuesday and Thursday night was active rest.
What?
They called it active rest.
Active rest.
Which was a 45-minute run. And I thought active rest was lying on the couch watching telly. I thought, hey, what's going on here? I'm going out for active rest. I'm going for a 45-minute run. So, it was, and I actually look back on it now. I got injured a bit at the Bears. I'd never been injured at Norwood.
Yeah, working too hard.
Yeah, I don't know. I was always only feeling light, obviously.
There's an old saying though, mate. If you're not fit, you can't get injured.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how it works.
Yeah, that's right. But I don't know whether I did. I seem to get a lot of injuries and stuff that I'd never had before. I don't know whether that was just perhaps you training 5 days a week and perhaps at a bit of a higher level or something. I don't know.
Are you a Lions man? Brisbane Lions man?
Oh yeah, true.
So
I took credit for their 3 premierships.
I was going to say.
Just ask anyone that knows.
I was going to say
credit for
that successful era they had those 3 in a row. Can you look at it and say, well, I was actually part of this, forming the foundation of what was to come?
At the end of the day, those great sides came from somewhere.
Yeah.
And somebody started that club.
That's right.
And back in '87, there was a group of blokes that got together and they flew them in from all over Australia, and we did the hard yards, and you started the club. Yeah. So there is, not that you get, even though I tell all my mates I've taken credit for it and built the club from the ground up. There is a bit of pride there that you were involved in that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Because
Yeah.
the most famous number 15 at the Brisbane Bears.
Well, that's right. Really was.
Hey,
You write that down.
yeah. Hey, and also, as you said, what you've achieved, Neil, little Palomana. What's the population there?
Well, I think it's down to about 5 now, I think. Yeah.
Okay. And you said like you played in that, you talked about that first game, 35,000 for Norwood, and then that famous grand final winning 84, I think it was 50,000 plus there. And
or something there.
you said you're playing at the G, so you've done it all, mate, when you look back.
Well, yeah, it's surprising, you know. I mean, you just sort of look back on it and think, some actually, when you get a bit old, I mean, I turned 59 3 weeks ago. That's frightening, isn't it? And I suppose when you get a bit older, you reflect on things a little bit. Yeah. And you think to yourself, well, sometimes you think, how did that all happen? You know, how did that actually happen?
Where's it gone?
Yeah, it was because it was just in the sort of a blink of an eyelid, really. But I was probably proud of the fact too that I always, if I look back on it, that I was able to go to the next level.
Yeah.
Because every time you go to the next level, you set yourself up to fail, basically.
Yeah,
and some people can cope with that, some people can't.
Yeah.
And that's why they limit themselves a bit.
Yeah.
So I always sort of went, you know, from a senior Colts A grade to under 19. I just sort of went up through the ranks and was able to do that. So, and eventually you get to a point, as I said earlier, where you get to a ceiling on it, I suppose, and that's about as far as you're going to go.
Yeah. Nah, mate, as a Hills product, you can be very proud of what you've achieved, mate. So thank you very much for joining us on the Saturday
No
morning.
worries.
We thought it'd be entertaining. It certainly was.
Always
Final fence post image, just to the fence post image.
Oh,
Just
one more look.
One more look.
Just can't get enough of this.
Can't get enough
the
of
thing
that.
comes in again.
There we go.
Thanks for having me on, guys. You did
Our
great
pleasure,
for the
Neil.
local sport, so well done.
Thank you very much.
Sensational.
Well, Robbie.
Another great show. Another great show.
Next week, as we said, we have final Saturday brief. That's right. But we've got someone who is a bit of a local hero as far as when it comes to Hills footy. I reckon he's been involved in well over 1,000 games of footy. So just a little bit of a teaser for you for next Saturday morning. We'll be joining us as a player and an umpire. So
And it's our final one.
something to look forward to. That's our
And
final one of the season.
Tim Glover says you're a great asset to the team. There you go.
Very good. But he hasn't said.
He hasn't mentioned what percentage pay
He
rise.
hasn't mentioned, check the pay slip next week, mate.
He's dodging that, isn't he?
All right, thanks for joining us on the Saturday brief. Thanks for tuning in on our live stream.
Yep.
And we'll be back on Wednesday night once again with the Huddle at 5 till 7. Don't forget, Call of the Wild this afternoon. Big game at Chunga taking on Mount Lofty. You'll hear that live here on 88.9 FM. But until then, Pistols signing off and keep chasing your goals. Bye for now.
And our lips are sealed.
Thanks, Nug.